So we are back with a brand new movie on What If Android 18 went with Naruto first time movie, but before we start, be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video. Now let's begin the story. Honey. I am Home. A young voice chirped happily while carrying few bags of groceries, her face splitting in two from the huge, satisfied smile she was sporting. Only silence greeted her, and yet the young woman kept smiling while pressing her hand on a hidden panel, making the whole house lock down in an instant once the security system recognized her handprint. You will never guess who I have met back in the city while I was buying those fabulous shoes I talked about yesterday, she said while descending the stairs towards the hidden basement deep underground the house. Once again ignoring the absolute silence, the woman rapidly tapped a long series of numbers on the pad near the only metallic door present so to enter the sealed room. Yep. It was Joshua. That loser. You can't believe how much he is still pestering me to get back together. As if he will ever have a chance, especially if compared to you, she said, looking with love-struck eyes the young man sitting on the metallic chair inside the huge pod in the middle of the room. Ah. Even with that breathing mask you look so good, she moaned lowly while caressing the small window of the pod, trailing with her eyes every single strand of blonde hair and the thin whiskers like marks on his cheeks. If only you could just activate Android 1. You would easily show to that baka of Dr. Jero who's best, you would show everyone that I am the greatest mind of this world, and then take me in front of everyone and kiss me, so to show that even in love we would triumph above everyone else, the young woman said with a suffered sigh. She was a young woman in her mid-40s with reddish-brown hair frizzled in an inhuman way, her cheeks still sporting a great deal of freckles under her greenish-gray eyes adorned by wide, bookwormish glasses. She was also on the heavy side, with a small belly tightly constricted by a too-tight shirt in a clear attempt at making it appear more flat, all covered by the lab coat she had donned as soon as she had entered the subterranean room. Don't worry, I had a flash of inspiration last night. Today I am sure I will be able to activate you. Soon we will be happy together and our love will blind everyone with its glory, she said with her eyes shining in adoration. It had all started 10 years earlier. She had just been kicked out of her latest job in an half-forgotten lab where she was helping developing new machinery to aid factories in speeding up production. It was a job she also despised with all her might as she saw it as a waste of her genius, but that was beside the point. Ever since she had been a little girl she had showed an incredible intelligence, a child prodigy that had given her a brief spark of notoriety in the scientific world as Doc Garter, the world's youngest scientist, and had even attracted the attention of at the time infamous Red Ribbon Army so to aid them in their android program for the creation of powerful machines to add to the organization's forces. All of that changed when Dr. Jero decided that a brat with delusions of adequacy like her was not suited to help the Red Ribbon Army in its quest and simply told her to never darken their door ever again. That was not a nice thing to say to a young, impressionable 12-year-old girl such as herself, promising revenge for her crushed honor. She had thrown herself on her studies and working here and there as an assistant for pretty much every scientist she could come across so to become a greater genius than Jero and so to show to the old bastard who was the best. Unfortunately though she had not the same resources as the Red Ribbon Army so she had to improvise, gaining so many failures even she could not effectively measure them in numbers, that is, until someday a kid, from the few details she could gather, had single-handedly destroyed the RR Army and every creation of Jero, making the old man disappear into self-exile. The event, other than brightening considerably Garter's day, had left the young woman with the possibility to scavenge from the ruins all the materials she needed. And boy, if she raided the place from top to bottom. And yet, that too had not been enough, and as it had been already said, several years later she had caught a glimpse of a man scarily resembling Jero kidnap two young criminals while muttering about test subjects, giving to Garter a moment of enlightenment. If purely mechanical cyborgs could not give her the level of proficiency she wanted, then turning a human into an android would have certainly worked better. And if the old fart could do that himself, then Garter would have created a better one, damn it, but she failed. Repetitively. She resolved the problem by creating a device able to transport the first human being in a determined radius back to her and powering it with a little trip to a power plant during the night. As soon as she activated the teleportation, she saw the machine simply refuse to work. When in her blind rage for the new failure she smashed both fists on the keyboard destroying it, the computer governing the machine exploded in a shower of sparks and filling the screen in numbers in an apparently randomized order before the damaged computer managed to input enough small corrections to intercept and human fulfilling the requirements Garter had chosen for her test subject. The result was a complete and absolute blackout in the whole city, a meltdown that destroyed the power plant in its entirety and an old man on his deathbed falling at the scientist's feet. Every lamentation she had about the result had to wait until she returned home since the authorities were already reaching the place, forcing the young woman to take the old man on her van and sprint away barely missing getting arrested. Once she had finished crying in despair for yet another failure, the young woman decided to try all the same, uncaring to see from where the old man had come from Earth. His DNA had showed its being similar enough to the human one, so she accepted it, but first, she decided to return him to a more younger appearance, making him more healthy and so more akin to instill awe and respect once turned into an android. And oh my God, if he was handsome once returned to the age of 25, broad shoulders, chiseled abs and gold blonde hair that were spiky on their own, and even if dulled out of the shock of both transportation and rejuvenating, he also had the most beautiful, dashing pair of cerulean eyes she had ever seen, and those whiskers. Oh, how she adored caressing them during the various operations to turn him into an android. Had she mentioned how handsome he was? Well, he was. He had the strangest power source inside him and vital readings defying every notion she came to know about humans and other species. So other than being fashion model hot, he was also what she was looking for in terms of starting point to create the perfect boyfriend. Android, she meant android. Luckily she had worked close to Dr. Gero, so she knew how to hack his own computer and borrow few ideas. Really, the old man was a genius in building, but he sucked at passwords. Gero awesome genius. And read-ribbon rules were hardly difficult passwords to decipher, all things considered, even without the decoding program she used. So he wants to copy other warriors' genes into a single being. Well, I can do the same. No, I can do better. My handsome android one will kick that ugly thing's ass and humiliate every other tin can he has built. She had said once, visioned the file named Cell and copied its content. Following the details in those files, she too had recovered samples of various warriors, not everyone since she lacked the mini-robots the old man had used and herself had to do the recovering by hand, but still, copying this Frieza guy's DNA along his father into Android 1 had been easy after a little trip to where Gero's mini-bots gathered it along Goku's own blood she stole from the hospital before he departed towards a strange, Namek place or something similar. She had even managed to capture one of the small drones before it could return to its base. I just hope the old fart won't discover me. And who is this Piccolo? What name is it even? Garter muttered when seeing that the updated file on Gero's computer talked about 2 attempts being required to collect the sample she stole. After that, it had been all a matter of erasing the handsome android's memories about his old life, except few details like the fighting abilities he already possessed and the techniques he surprisingly had already in his arsenal. After all, his wife had been already dead and he himself had been pretty damn close at dying of old age. And even then, compared to that, Hinata. Insert frown of the scientist. Garter knew that she was so much prettier than her and so more worthy of one's affections. If only he could wake up and activate that is. That was exactly the problem. After 10 long years of work he was ready, and yet he refused to activate. The transformation into android and the splicing of those warriors' genes in the still biological parts of his body had been completed not long ago, along the refining of his already amazing abilities. And yet Garter's perfect creation was still unable to wake up and embrace her, and love her and free her of that pesky virginity that was still plaguing her existence, since she was not a big-breasted bimbo while her ass was instead slightly bigger than average, and defeat Gero's creations, can't forget that. Why don't you wake up, darling? Your princess is waiting for her dashing knight in shining armor to wake up. Garter muttered sadly while kissing the window of the healing pod and smearing it with cheap lipstick. I don't know what is more sad. The fact that you are ready to build your own boyfriend, or the fact that such a nice model of android has to owe its birth to someone as pathetic as you. A deep, hissing voice said in amusement as pain erupted from Garter's back. RGH. The woman yelled while embracing the healing pod to stay upright. Who are you? She said with a weak voice. Dr. Gero called me. Cell, the creature said in amusement while it kept feeding on the woman. Gero? Cell? She said while her body had started shriveling and deflating. Very weak. Like this I will never gather enough power to absorb 17 and 18, Cell muttered in disgust. Android 1. Please help me. The woman whispered before her whole being got absorbed by the creature, leaving behind only her clothes. A pity. I remember you never got activated, so that woman was your creator? I'll do you a favor and take you out of your misery, better destroyed than simply sit there collecting rust. Even if it is still a waste of potential, Cell said with an almost sad voice while pointing its open palm at the pod and launching a bullet of energy that opened a wide hole on one's chest, almost cutting his whole body in 2 parts. As it walked out, the creature showed itself being a tall humanoid creature with its facial features retaining an orifice-like mouth, 2 sections of its head shooting off in different directions in a V shape, and orange color parts near the abdominal area, the back of his head, and near its groin area. It had instead black sections near the abdominal area, in the middle between the 2 sections on its head, azure veins in both of the arms, legs, and even some in the upper body. 2 wings which were both emerald green with black spots, an emerald green and lime green mix all over his exoskeleton including head, arms and legs. The most distinguishing features of the android were its 5 fingers and 3 toes and a tail with a stinger at the end of it. Back in the lab meanwhile something amazing was happening, because blinded by her desire of vengeance Garter had never thought that the 2 different kinds of modifications of one's body could clash and result in its non-activation, being both mechanic like Jero's normal androids and organic, in a matter similar to Cell, resulted in the 2 parts coming into conflict, short-circuiting the whole system. But now, thanks to Cell's impromptu removal of the mechanical parts inside his chest and one's regenerating powers coming from the Namekian cells of Piccolo, strengthening the one he already possessed as a human, new organs were rapidly retaking their rightful place, leaving only the bare augmentations of brain, arms and legs intact, all the encompassed by the unknown, to Garter, special ability of both Frieza and the Saiyan blood in his veins, giving him respectively the ability to survive that terrible wound and grow stronger from that near-death experience. Phewick. With a startled scream the blonde man opened his eyes and moved to sit on the floor before coughing at the sensation of air flooding his new lungs and blood getting pumped by a sparkling new heart. Whoa. Headache, nausea, world that spins like mad. Hangover? A deep voice asked in the boy's mind. Kurama. One asked in surprise. How do you know my name, Naruto? The giant fox asked confused. And how do you know me? One asked back. Okay, let's focus. We know each other. You are a shinobi and I am a Biju and we were fighting against a woman with 3 eyes? Kurama said while keeping his eyes shut tightly as to force his memories out. I remember a lot of fights, faces and places I can't give a name to, this not considering Haku and Zabuza and few others like Sarutobi Gigi at least. The blonde answered with a groan of dismay. Okay, it's still something. Probably we both will remember sooner or later, as for now you need clothes other than your boxers, the Biju said grinning. Yeah, you are right. Let's see if there is something wearable around, Naruto said nodding. Say. Who is this Garter's woman and why does she has tried to fill your head with notions about her? I mean, apparently we are no longer in the elemental countries so infos about how things work here is nice and all. But what about all this crap on her like her birthday, her favorite color and all the rest? Some of that stuff it's just plain creepy. Kurama said while watching the blonde examine a near closet with his name on it. Dunno, sure as hell my name is not one. Can you erase that stuff? I don't like the idea of someone fucking with my head adding stuff by their own. It makes me feel unclean, he replied. Can do. Luckily she turned your head into a sort of computer we both share, so I just need to influence a small part of your brain to erase those additions. It's like finding pieces of data lying around here and there randomly. I just take those and destroy them completely. Kurama answered with a shrug. Pay attention to not erase the few memories we have. And for the love of God, did she buy anything she could find in the cliché bin of the mall? Look at this crap. Naruto said before gagging in disgust at the sad spectacle of the clothes that mysterious woman thought he would have used. Wow. Never seen that much black, trench coats and cargo pants in one place. The 9-tailed fox muttered in disbelief. Let's go away before that sicko arrives. I am ready to run away in my boxers if I have to, but I refuse to dress with that stuff. The blonde android said shivering. I agree, let's hurry before she returns. You don't want to know what kind of deviant things she will try to have you do otherwise. And with that, the shinobi turned android escaped the house as fast as he could, welcoming the ability to fly as a small blessing to speed up his leaving of that strange place and oblivious that in the end, no matter her many flaws, he had been given new life thanks to a misguided benefactor that had been one of the first victims of Cell, the soon-to-be perfect being. 2 weeks later, small island not too far from South City. In a small cafe, sitting comfortably in one of the outside tables and sporting a black and orange jumpsuit pretty much identical to the one he remembered wearing before waking up in Garter's laboratory stood Naruto, now relaxing with a small smile on his face at seeing the various women present stealing glances at him from the other tables. You know, I don't think I had all this success with women back home, at least not from what I can remember, the blonde thought smirking, lowering the round sunglasses he was wearing to blink at the waitress that had just brought him his order and turning her into a blushing mess that hurried away in a fit of giggles. It shows that here women have a very poor variety of choices when it comes to men. But why the sunglasses? And the golden ring at your ear? Kurama asked with a raised eyebrow. They add a nice +5 to my charisma stat and badass stat. How could I not wear them? The other replied while taking a sip of cappuccino to hide his smug grin. Someone got hooked up on video games, I see. The Biju answered smirking. This place is awesome. And while ramen exists here as well, thank God for that, everything else is so different. And if we got things right from the data Garter gave us, we'll even have strong guys to fight with if we get bored, like that Goku and the others. And even then, Better wasting time with video games than with those sappy soap operas you are so hell-bent on watching. Naruto thought with clear happiness shining on his face. Hoi! The Bold and the Beautiful is an amazing show. Do not insult that masterpiece, Kurama replied in anger. I am not insulting it, I just hate the fact that in order for you to watch it, I have to sit there and watch it myself since you look through my eyes, Naruto said with a sigh, surprised to see a car pass flying near him once through by an old man. Say, isn't that the Gero guy Garter was adamant in having us defeat? The blonde asked aloud. So it seems, but who is that fat ass with him? Kurama answered. I don't know. Oh, here is some of those Z-warriors, the android said as Goku, Krillin, Tien Shinhan and Piccolo rapidly descended near the cafe to fight the Gero look-alike and the chubby man with him. So you are finally here, Goku, Gero said with a pleased smile. Where is Yamcha? Goku asked glaring at the old man. You want your friend? Here, take him. At those words the fat man grabbed something behind him to throw it at Piccolo's feet. It was the barely breathing Yamcha sporting an hole in his chest and losing blood in great quantity. Yamcha. Damn it, Krillin. Take him to Bulma and give him a senzu bean. Maybe we can still save his life. Goku said with a furious voice. Okay. The small warrior answered with a nod while carefully nearing their fallen friend. With a last glare and a growl in his voice, Krillin managed to lift the taller man and take him away, leaving just the three Z-warriors to face Gero and his companion. The tension is rising pretty rapidly, Naruto muttered. Yep, should we intervene? Kurama asked. Something tells me that in the past I would have gladly jumped in. Now I am feeling quite detached from things, the blonde replied unsure. We got turned into an android. I guess our morals took a small dive between that and the erasing of memories, but I am not sure, the Biju answered. Leave this place, boy. This will get messy, Piccolo said while stealing a glance at the former shinobi. Trust me, Namekian. I saw worse and did worse than fighting an android or two, Naruto replied with a shrug. How do you? The green-skinned warrior muttered in surprise. I am finding surprising that you of all people know that we are androids to begin with, young man. Gero answered amused. With that face? I never saw people that funny looking before, so you were either a duo of weirdos or two machines. I just tried my luck, the blonde answered. Charming. Gero replied as his eyes lightened up before shooting a thin laser towards the young man and engulfing the blonde's body in a huge explosion. Ah! The three Z-warriors gasped in horror while watching the cloud of smoke cover the whole cafe and the remains of the table silently burning behind them. Good. Now that the distractions are over we can. The old man started saying before a loud groan erupted from the smoke. Really? Really? You had to blow up my breakfast? Have you any idea how much I need to have my cappuccino in the morning? Now I am pissed. A completely unharmed Naruto growled while coming out of the fire with a deep scowl on his face. Interesting. How did you survive? Gero asked. I am awesome and leave it at that. Hoi, can I join? I'll leave the old fart to you Goku. But fatso there I wish to turn to scraps if you don't mind. The blonde young man said while discarding the ruined sunglasses with a sigh. If your request is about a swift death then I will make you happy. Attack him, 19, Gero said, making the fat android sprint at blinding speed towards the former shinobi. No. Goku yelled as the fat-looking machine grabbed Naruto's face with its hand. Sigh. A thing I should have said before, I am not exactly human, per se. The blonde said before grabbing 19's arm at the wrist and tearing the whole thing away up to the shoulder with apparent ease. What? Gero growled in anger. My designation, if we want to call it like that, is Android 1. But other than few extra gadgets, I am still the badass blonde I was before. Now fly, fat ass. One said in glee, launching 19 back with a palm thrust strong enough to send the android fly all the way to Gero with a deep imprint of his left hand on its chest. Another android? Tien Shinhan muttered between clenched teeth. Yep, but a butchered one. That Dr. Garter only managed to erase my memories. Other than that I don't exactly have orders to follow since me and a friend erased those once I woke up. You know, I kind of like to think for myself like I did before that woman kidnapped me to turn my body into this, Naruto replied shrugging. I always knew that a brat like her could never do the work of a proper scientist. It's a miracle in itself that you are working at all, Android 1. Gero said smirking. Please, my name is Naruto. As of now I only have few mechanical parts in me, the blonde replied. So you will help us? Goku asked. Not exactly. I still have orders about destroying every creation of Gero and humiliate him, but I am not exactly into a hurry to obey that. So for now I'll just tag along and see how you people fight. I am not here to steal your show, he answered. This is not a game. Piccolo said with narrowed eyes. For me it is. I just want to fight strong opponents, Piccolo. Whatever I was before doesn't matter now that I am still trying to understand who I am. So forgive me if I still don't want to take a stance in your good versus evil moment here, the other said. But please, let's take the fight somewhere else. Wouldn't want some stranger interrupt our game, right? Please Jiro Gigi, make this young android happy. One asked with an overly polite tone and a small, mocking bow. TCH. Youngsters these days. Come on, Goku. Show us a better place for our fight. Jiro said while he and the damaged 19 moved up in the air. This way, the gentle Saiyan muttered while taking the lead of the small group that soon flew away at high speed. With that tone, he remembered me of Frieza for an instant. Piccolo muttered to himself, unsure as to why the blonde android behind him actually chuckled as if he had heard him. Several miles away, remote island once arrived in the desolated area. The Z fighters, Jiro and 19 and Android 1 each moved in a different side of the small clearing they had landed on, each member of the three groups seizing the others for any opening they could exploit. Nice place. If it survives our fight, I think I will build here a nice home to call my own, Naruto muttered while sitting on a near rock to watch the fight unfold. I take that you won't take part, Android 1? Jiro asked amused. Not at the moment, but before Goku collapses I want to leave him have a shot at your 19 toy, the blonde answered. So you noticed, Goku said while biting down the exhaustion the short trip had already given him. I have always been an observant guy. Now go and have fun. I will step in later, Naruto answered. So be it. Finally I will have my revenge, Goku. I will make you pay for destroying the Red Ribbon Army and the fruit of all my hard work. 19. Jiro ordered with a growling scream, making the fat android shot towards Goku at max speed. Ah! With a mighty yell the Super Saiyan made his appearance, blocking the flying kick of 19 and answering with his elbow slamming with pure power on the machine's stomach, sending it fly against a tall group of rocks in an explosion of debris. Nice, Naruto commented smirking. Not bad, wasn't there that woman back home that could do the same? Tsunade perhaps? Kurama asked. Maybe, the power level of the man is pretty awesome on itself even if not at the top of his health. What do you think? Would 2 tails be enough? The blonde answered. Better play safe with a 3-tailed cloak. We can't know how strong he is normally just by trusting the battle data Jiro had. I won't trust blindly few numbers on a screen. That is also true, Naruto said nodding, rapidly rolling to the side to evade a stray ki blast of 19 that almost beheaded him. Hoi! Don't make me come there, bastard! Check your damn accuracy, Android 1 yelled frowning. Who were you talking with? Piccolo asked without stopping from following the fight. The friend that helped me in cleaning my head from all those useless orders, the blonde answered while tapping his own forehead. HN. Come on. This is taking forever. He even has only one arm. The former shinobi groaned after a short silence. He is getting weaker, the heart virus, Tien muttered between clenched teeth. What virus? He has a debilitating illness. We tried to stop him from coming but he didn't want to leave those androids any time to make victims, Piccolo explained. Idiot, that's why then he is having all those problems with that tin can. He is aggravating things further by stressing himself by fighting and transforming. Naruto had to admit it though, Goku's strength was something to respect. Even if suffering from an heart condition, the Saiyan was easily pummeling 19 with various punches and kicks that would have destroyed a normal man with one hit. Showing speed and reflexes the blonde found mesmerizing to watch. He even found himself cheering when with a particularly powerful kick 19 had been shot all the way down from the sky and in a deep crater in front of the former shinobi. Oh, well. I think it's time for me to intervene. Your friend is panting with a hand on his chest. It means his heart just reached the limit, Naruto said sighing while going through some stretching. True to his words, Goku was slowly floating down while taking in huge gasps of air, his hand grabbing his chest in a tight grip of agony before completely losing consciousness and falling down to the floor. So even you are no match for us, Goku, I am glad. Finish him, 19, Jiro ordered with a pleased smile as the fat android dashed forward smiling gleefully. In that same moment a golden bullet of ki slammed on the back of 19, sending it careening on the floor and against a wall of rocks soon collapsing under the impact. Oh, I knew that I was smelling arrogance. It was you then? Naruto asked as a new Saiyan joined the fight already in the super state of transformation and a wide smirk smelling of superiority complex. Who's the brat? The man asked. A new android that somehow Trunks failed to warn us about, Vegeta. Tien said while watching as Krillin and Trunks also joined the scene, briefly followed by Goku's son Gohan. Another? The time-traveling young man gasped in horror. Stop your ki, boy. I am still deciding which side I am in. It was not Jiro to create me, Naruto answered unconcerned. Oh. Can we trust the pile of metal? Vegeta asked with a glare. Charming, I guess you are the king of parties back home, the blonde replied smirking. How dare you? The Prince of Saiyans growled while grabbing the front of the shinobi's clothes to better glare at him. I was going to fight 19. If you hurry up you will have your occasion to shine, pretty boy. Or do you prefer watching me destroy that thing? The android said smirking, not even flinching when Vegeta punched his stomach in pure pettiness before charging at 19. Oh, boy. I think we have a broody Saiyan, the shinobi said while patting his slightly bruised chest in annoyance. Can't actually say you were wrong in there. Yamcha muttered while skillfully ignoring Trunks' offended frown at his words. Contrary to Goku, Vegeta was in top form and could give his best from the very beginning. The problem was the sheer ego he displayed during the whole thing. Every punch or kick was followed by a long rant about how 19 should feel honored at fighting him, the Prince of all Saiyans, and Naruto could almost see the capital letters in that title by how the man was saying it. He was strong, the blonde and the Biju had no problem admitting that, but by the few past experiences they could still recall. All that arrogance was an Achilles heel just waiting to be exploited by an enemy with just a tiny bit more of brain. Is that all you have, android? No more tricks to use against me? It's a pity that you have just one arm. Like that you have even less chances to defeat me, Vegeta said while grabbing 19's head with both hands to deliver a devastating headbutt that managed to leave a sizable dent in the machine's forehead before throwing it up in the sky. UHG. Too much macho talk, Naruto muttered between exaggerated gagging noises. What's wrong? Wasn't I in your calculations? The Saiyan Prince taunted once appeared in front of 19 in a burst of speed. Gra. With a scream of pure rage the android tried once again to hit Vegeta with a flurry of punches and kicks, showing a very human-like face of madness at watching the other dodge with an unnerving smirk on his face or even swat away the attacks every once in a while. Oh, God. If this keeps up it will take months. Are you all just going to stand there gaping like idiots? Why not, you know? Shoot ki blasts at 19 so he drops his guard or even at Gero so to stop him now that he is completely focused on Vegeta's fight and has his guard down. Naruto asked while watching Piccolo and the others staying with mouths hanging open at seeing Vegeta's fight. His power level is unbelievable, he is so powerful. Incredible, he got so strong thanks to his training. Really? Naruto muttered with a sweat drop at their lack of response. No wonders the guy has an inflated ego. If instead of helping they stand there commenting about everything they see then he can show off all he wants, Kurama said with a groan of disbelief. Take this. Vegeta yelled before his hammer punch landed on 19's back and shooting the android at Mach speed towards the others watching, but while Piccolo, Krillin and the rest of the Z-Warriors were happy to simply dodge the falling machine. The blonde ex-shinobi stood his ground and cocked back his hand. Not yet. Not yet. Aha. Rasengan. The blonde said while energy started amassing in his palm into a spiraling sphere. Once 19 had been close enough the destructive jutsu went slammed on the android's stomach easily drilling a hole in its armor and circuitry in a shower of blood like oil, launching it all the way back into the ground with a giant hole in its chest. Cool. Stronger than what I remembered it to be. The key maybe? No, I definitely used chakra, the android mused with a low voice. You. Do not interfere in my fight. I am the one that will destroy that thing. Vegeta yelled in fury. In answer the former shinobi pointed his open palm at the damaged remains of 19 to shot a huge bullet of purple ki that completely erased the android with the resulting explosion and cleaned a wide area around it of anything, leaving only a smooth surface of burned earth once done. Sorry, I couldn't hear you while I destroyed that thing interfering in your fight, Naruto said smirking. You little. The Saiyan Prince was about to say before a slow clapping echoed in the area. Interesting, you do have a nice design and a great destructive power, why don't you join me then? You said you were a butchered android, because of your faulty creation. If you want, I can intervene and fix whatever barely acceptable job that Brad did to you. Recovery of your memories comprised, Gero said. I admit that finally remembering who the hell I am would be nice, the blonde said, all for the shock of the Z-Warriors. That would be exceptionally easy, considering the poor level of work I remember your creator being capable of. Probably several fragments are still buried in some obscure partition of your brain. Come with me and I assure you that everything will become clearer, the old man said nodding. Hoi? I heard a lot of good things about a certain Bulma Briefs, would she be able to do the same things he is promising? Naruto asked to Piccolo. It's not my field of expertise, but yes, I think she should be able, the Namekian answered. Cool. Then I refuse, Gero-san. I can smell the bullshits you were telling me from all the way here and even if my memories are a mess, you remember me of a pale asshole with a fetish for snakes. And part of me doesn't want to touch that kind of offer not even with a 10 meters long pole. The android answered. Damn it. Very well, but remember, This was your last chance to save yourself from destruction. Once I will activate androids 17 and 18, you all will die. Jero said before moving his hands in a wide swipe, creating a tremendous explosion to cover his escape. I can see you. Don't you dare run, old man. Death beam. The blonde said with a frown while extending his right arm and firing a small, thin, very fast and concentrated laser-like beam of ki from his index finger that managed to hit Jero and sever his right arm away. Gah! The old man screamed while speeding up in his retreat and barely avoiding the second beam that almost beheaded him and instead just destroyed the hat he had been wearing, showing the man's brain under a protective dome hidden under it. He managed to dodge. I am impressed, Naruto said before turning to watch at the assembled Z warriors now pointing their already charged up ki blasts at him. What? The android asked. Your aura turned into a replica of Frieza's while shooting that attack. Why? Piccolo asked with narrowed eyes. Meh. If I have to listen to what Garter's data in my head say, I have a little bit of that guy, of his probable father, of you and Goku inside of my body giving me your abilities among other things. Why? The other answered with a shrug. You. Before Krillin could finish his sentence, the blonde simply walked past him to lift Goku and carry him on his shoulders. I'll take him to his home. He seems to need medical attention. Can someone show me where to take him? Naruto asked. I'll accompany him. If I stay I risk getting in the way otherwise, Yamcha said while nearing the blonde. My father. Gohan muttered. If I wanted him dead, I would have snapped his neck 5 minutes ago when he collapsed. I want instead to fight him as soon as he recovers, so I'll play the good guy just for a little while and help him. As for now, you can be certain that from me he will have nothing to fear until he gets better, the android answered before flying up behind Yamcha and following him. Che. Now we are getting help from a pile of scraps, quite a blow to my self-esteem. Vegeta muttered with a sneer. Please refrain yourself from adding another enemy to our list, it's already long by itself. I am going to chase that old man. Piccolo said before zooming away to chase Jero. I am coming, Mr. Piccolo, Gohan said while hurrying up to follow the Namekian. Hoi, wait for me, Krillin said as he too joined the chase. The problems for the planet Earth were just starting to show their most ugly sides as Jero was rapidly moving to activate the so-called androids 17 and 18, turning the Z warriors' attention on them and the possibility of those two being the two evil machines that Trunks had so worriedly warned them against. The fact that a third android was also around and not created by Jero was adding more variables than the time-traveling Saiyan himself wanted to consider. Yamcha was flying towards the small house of Goku as fast as he could, sometimes stealing a glance at the blonde android next to him with a worried expression. So, the man said uncertain. Naruto muttered in acknowledgement. You are an android, yep, that's the Sherlock of the group, Kurama said sarcastically. Pretty much, even if I have very few mechanical components inside. Just a couple augmentations in both arms and legs and some extra stuff in my brain. The rest is all natural. Plus some extra stuff coming from the cells of Goku here, Piccolo and that Frieza guy and his father. How was he by the way? The blonde answered. A cold-blooded monster that enslaved worlds, killed entire civilizations and tortured people by the millions, Yamcha answered. Oh, was he cool at least? Naruto asked. What kind of question is that? If you ask me, he was ugly as shit, the Z warrior answered. I get that he was a merciless bastard, but as for now my sense of justice kind of took a dive, so now I am just looking for a reason to fight. A reason? Why would you need a reason? Justice should be good enough, Yamcha said scandalized. You better calm down, or else, the man said challengingly. In answer, Android 1 just moved Goku on his shoulder and raised the pointer of his free arm, generating a tiny sphere of ki. Death ball, the blonde muttered, flicking the small sphere of energy towards a mountain range. Halfway towards the target, the spark grew to the size of a huge sphere, erasing the various mountains in a blinding explosion of light. That was one finger. You either calm down or I'll use the whole hand on you, Naruto explained as he returned to fly forward. Not impressed. I can do that too, Yamcha said with a whine. Keep dreaming. Do you know why I act like this? Naruto asked. Tell me. I have been kidnapped on my deathbed, took here by a delusional woman that after giving me back my youth turned me into a machine, completely fucked up my brain by erasing random memories and then tried to fill my head of bullshits about her so to have a willing sex toy, boyfriend and maybe one day an husband. I don't remember a fucking thing of my past, nothing. Not what my parents look like, what my friends look like except for some vague flashes. I am sure I have met people that helped me become who I was before and now in their place there are only holes and faceless shadows. Not a single thing. Empty. Comprende? I don't know if I was good or if I was evil. I barely remember my name, so why should I arbitrarily decide which side should I follow if I lack the even bare experiences in life to make a damn decision? Tell me, Naruto started answering calmly before mounting always more rage until the final words went screamed at the top of his lungs at a millimeter of Yamcha's face. I am sorry, the man said with an apologetic tone. Sigh. It's okay. I'll remember sooner or later, either this or that Bulma woman will ideally restore something, come on. Let's take him home, he needs his rest, he said sighing. Do you think the others will be okay? You ask me? You are their friend and know them. Today it was the first day I saw you others in person. The little I know comes from whatever data Garter had stolen from Jero. And I prefer seeing things with my own two eyes. So you don't know a thing about the androids that Madman has created? Yamcha asked sighing. I know very little, just that 17 and 18 have human base like me, but contrary to them I was then genetically created as Android 1 through DNA manipulation using some of you guys' genes, like something Jero called Project Cell. Project Cell. Something about a bio-android created using the cells of your friends. We'll need to deal with it soon as the data Garter stole are old, so probably at the time it was all still a theory, existing only on paper, but with how smart Jero seems to be. Those 2 months may mean him starting it or even halfway into completing it. Luckily she deemed necessary for my mission, about avenging her honor to know as much as possible about him. Naruto answered. Why she stopped updating her info? Yamcha asked confused. I don't know, but when I woke up the lab I was in ruin and half destroyed and she was nowhere to be seen. Maybe something happened and she never came back to finish her job while I simply activated by myself. I have no idea. The blonde android answered sighing unsure. It might be why you have only part of your memories. I hope so, otherwise I will be the one to put her 6 feet under when we finally meet, the other said shaking his head. Everything will be okay. Down there, that small house is Goku's, Yamcha said pointing at the small, isolated farm hidden in the mountains under them. Try to not have his wife freak out at seeing me, please. How do you know he is married? He has a son and he doesn't seem the type to just have a son with a random woman without marrying her first. True. The Z warrior said chuckling. Yamcha. Goku. What happened? A woman yelled with wide scared eyes as soon as she saw the two land in front of the house, hurrying out to check on Goku with a clearly afraid expression. Chi-Chi. His heart gave in because of a virus. Even the senzu beans are useless. We need to put him on a bed, Yamcha answered as he took the warrior from Naruto's shoulders to take him inside. I'll stay here just in case. Jero wants Goku dead. If he manages to activate new androids his home will be the first place they will search, hoping that they have not a way to directly track him wherever he goes. The blonde offered. Try to give us an head start then if you see them. If they attack we'll bring him to Master Roshi. That place is in the middle of the ocean, even maps don't show. Yamcha answered from inside as both him and Chi-Chi hurried to take Goku to bed. Okay. We'll have to move him as soon as possible then. If they have a good hiding place is better to use it before shit hits the fan, Kurama said with narrowed eyes. Yeah, but this one trip was already too much for him. We'll need to wait tomorrow to move him again, or at the very least tonight. Naruto answered as his eyes scanned both earth and sky. Why are we helping him by the way? Just asking. I feel that this is the right thing to do, but mostly I want to fight him so I need him to stay alive and recover his power. It's strange, my own blood demands to fight him because he is strong, but a huge part of it wants me to defeat him especially, to show that I am superior to him. As if it was somehow personal to see him defeated. Even dead. He answered shivering, especially on the last part as for a moment the urge had spiked immensely before quieting down immediately after. Maybe those infusions of warrior's DNA are the reason for it? Kurama offered worried. Then we can exclude Goku and Piccolo as the Namekian too makes that same part react a little. The blonde answered unsure. So that leaves Frieza and his father as possible reason, but what would have happened to have those guys resent Goku so much that the need to defeat him is literally ingrained in the very blood Jero took and that woman stole? The Biju wondered. By how they talk about the guy, Frieza was a damn evil guy, so maybe they fought and he was killed? He asked aloud groaning. Revenge from the otherworld? Seems unlikely, too much fantasy? We'll ask this too to Bulma-san. Hopefully she will be able to answer that too. In the meantime you just keep your blood under control, both figuratively and literally. Kurama answered sighing in defeat. Yep, that sounds like a nice idea. The blonde android answered with his shoulders slumping down. With Yamcha and Chi-Chi, so he is an android? Chi-Chi muttered in apprehension while watching the blonde patrol around the house. Yes, but he was made by a woman that hates Jero and got himself free from whatever order she gave him, so he is pretty much inhuman. He just got modified a little. Yamcha answered sighing. You think we can trust him? He is a side on its own, but he needs Bulma's help to recover his memories, so for now we can say he is on our side, more or less. You know, the woman said with narrowed eyes, Yes? Now that I am looking at him better, I think I already saw his face somewhere, but I can't remember where. Really? Yamcha said shocked. Yes, but while I don't remember well, I can tell you it was something bad. Something dirty. At least for my standards, at least, she answered. They were curious though as they saw the blonde android snap around to look in a faraway point beyond the horizon before cursing loudly. What? Yamcha asked peeking outside. I registered a spike of ki that should belong to one of your friends. I am missing the fun apparently. We better start organizing the moving of Goku to that Roshi guy's house just in case this is just the beginning of the troubles. Naruto answered with narrowed eyes. Aren't you being too negative? Maybe it just means we have already won? An attack strong enough to have you sense it from all the way here must have been huge. You would really trust your good star on this. It was not Goku the one to shot that very powerful ki blast I felt, remember? Chi-Chi, prepare your stuff, we are moving you and your husband somewhere safe. Why? The woman asked worried. It was not Goku that fired that final attack. I'll start immediately, she answered with a grave tone. I like when people get savvy, Kurama said pleased. Yep. Makes things easier. The android answered nodding as he too went inside to help the two pack what they needed. What happened few minutes ago, somewhere north of North City, lab hidden between the mountains. The remaining Z warriors accompanying Trunks were watching in absolute astonishment, minus Vegeta that was instead looking simply bored, as the black-haired girl Jero identified as Android 17 pierced the old man's chest with her arm from his back to all the way outside his front in a shower of oil. Gua! Jero gasped out with wide eyes as sparks surged from the gaping hole the punch created on his body. Shut up, old man. 17 said smirking cruelly before beheading the doctor with a backhanded slap making the metallic head land at barely an inch from Krillin's feet at the opposite side of the room. I always hated his voice, and he never shuts up. Android 18, a blonde version of 17, added huffing as she absent-minded jumped high in the air. IICC created YYU. OO obey splat. Talking with a very damaged voice riddled by static sounds, Jero tried to still look towards his creation before 18's landing on his head finally silenced him in a splattering of metallic parts and the doctor's original brain turning to a shape Lee's goo under her shoe. Boo! She playfully said, smirking, making Krillin shriek and jump back to take distance. You are no fun, 18 said, huffing with crossed arms. None of them seem to be, sis, especially that grumpy shorty down there. 17 added while lifting a coffin-like pod on her shoulder that was labeled as 16 to carry it. You won't laugh once I am done with you, Tin Can, Vegeta answered snarling. So we are taking him too? 18 asked bored. The good doctor seems so much against the idea of us activating him, and I like doing the exact opposite of what he tells us. The other answered shrugging. You especially, pretty boy. You look like the one scared the most. Do you fear the big, bad androids will kill you? The blonde girl asked amused. You. Trunks growled in both anger and fear as energy started building up around him. I'll take that as a yes, she answered clearly pleased with herself. You. Trunks growled as he turned into his Super Saiyan form, now with his energy focused only in his hands as he channeled as much power as he could in a single attack. Should we dodge that, sis? 17 asked curious as she walked close to her blonde twin. Nah, I want to feel it, 18 answered with a cruel smirk. Nasty girl. The other replied amused while flicking away a strand of her black hair. You monster. Get down. Krillin screams as the time-traveling Saiyan unleashed his overcharged Buster Cannon attack, completely erasing the whole mountain in a giant explosion. A moment the mountain range was there, the next instant a blinding light covered everything, turning the whole area into a completely clean, flat surface devoid of life, with everything in front of the Z warriors obscured by an enormous cloud of smoke completely blinding their view. Are they dead? Krillin asked hopeful. Had it ever been that easy? Piccolo asked back grimacing. I do believe in miracles. And you do well, Baldy. 17 said laughing as the wind rapidly dispersed the smoke to show the two androids and the capsule still looking pristine clean. You mean they will need a miracle to win? 18 asked back. More likely they'll need a few to even remain alive, sis. Fair enough. What about you, big boy? The black-haired girl android said as she dropped the pod to open it with an uncaring kick to show a giant with a wild mop of red hair wearing a bulky green armor. No. Trunks kept muttering while sweating profusely as the towering form of Android 16 exited the pod to look around with an inexpressive face. Say, boy. Vegeta asked, half cocky and half angry. Any other android you think you might have forgot to tell us about? To be fair, that other blonde one was not made by Jero, Tien offered, frowning. And that is another problem. In the future that one never got activated, I know for certain because one of our plans was to reprogram him, activate him and hope to use him to help us. Him being around means that something is not right with the timeline. Things are too different. Trunks answered as the trio of machines now took fly to reach them. Then why you didn't do that? Piccolo asked. He had been left without maintenance since before I was even born, and the woman who created him had not an automatized system to keep him at working conditions. Not that I saw any difference. You sure he isn't half rotten even now? Vegeta added smugly. That tongue of yours someday will give you trouble, the Namekian answered with a bland tone. So, 17 said loudly to get the Z-Warriors' attention. Since we finally found something fun to do, that is to say kill Son Goku, we will now take our leave, if you don't mind, 18 added. Kill Goku? Krillin asked with wide eyes. It is my mission, the sole reason I was created. 16 answered with a short nod and a plain tone. No, Trunks screamed in rage. Yes instead, ta-ta, 17 answered amused as the three dashed away at high speed. What? Come back here. Too furious about being ignored to wait for the others, Vegeta to shoot forward, leaving behind the long tail of his ki powering his flight. Wait. We Shoal Gua. What the time-traveling Saiyan was about to say died in his throat as his father mercilessly drew a fist in his stomach as he flew by without stopping his charge, letting the young man fall down half unconscious until Krillin caught him in his arms. What's his problem? Trunks asked between huge gasps. Too many to count, one of which is having too much pride for his own good, Piccolo answered as he and the others too joined the fleeting Vegeta just in case he got himself killed just to appease his ego. Meanwhile, Goku's home, you sure you'll be able to bring them in there by yourself? The former shinobi asked worried. Take it easy, is not the first time we have to move in there to hide from the bad guys, Yamcha answered trying to sound reassuring. I already called Roshi, he is coming here himself to take us there, and thank you, Chi-Chi said with a small bow. For what? You had no obligations to help us and yet you helped Yamcha bringing Goku here instead of joining the others or even siding with that madman, and I thank you for it. The woman answered with a gentle smile. I did it just because I want him to get well so to fight him, Naruto admitted sheepishly. Oh, well, it's still something. I'll go joining the party now, those androids want Goku dead, and I am curious to see firsthand how strong they are. The android said floating up in the air. Take care then. Yamcha offered as he and Chi-Chi watched him fly rapidly away. Sigh. He is a good boy after all. I can't see why he needs to lie about his being nice though. Stupid male bravado making him be against acting nice. Chi-Chi said sighing as she moved to give the finishing touches to her packing. Male bravado. Shay, that's sexist, Yamcha muttered huffing. With Naruto. So we made our good deed of the century. Can we please fight now? I am pretty sure we loved to fight back home and that we were pretty badass doing it as well, Kurama pleaded. In a moment, the blonde said as he pumped ki and chakra through his body, summoning a bright dark purple aura around himself as he gained even more speed. More. Feeling his heart pump at high speed, the android summoned always more power, unknowingly making his whisker marks get thicker, his teeth turning razor sharp and gaining bright red eyes worthy of a predator. His brain, half transformed into a biocomputer, had already locked on the key signatures he already knew. Vegeta, Piccolo, Trunks and Krillin. The modifications the underestimated Dr. Garter used still working like a charm and pointing him towards his intended target, people that had helpfully regrouped in the same place and whose energy was spiking high and low in an evident fight and so easy for him to track. They are not too far. If we hurry we can make it and join, the blonde said as the Saiyan part of his augmentations encouraged him to go faster and faster towards the fight he was missing on. I can say she was twisted as a woman, but I don't know if I can say the same about her being scientist. All things considered, this stuff works and feels great, Kurama said really excited. With the androids, not too far away, rode between the mountains, several minutes later. The three androids were standing in the middle of a road passing through a mountain range with 17 eagerly looking forward with an hungry look in her eyes. Tell me again, why we stopped, 18 asked annoyed. I want a car, her sister answered grinning. We can fly, 16 said sounding almost annoyed himself. It is not the same thing. We have been trapped in that lab for too long, now I want a car, new clothes. And that? The dark-haired beauty answered pointing at the giant billboard looming above them. The usual spoiled brat, why you want all that stuff? But yes, some clothes wouldn't be bad and that picture is cute, 18 admitted absently. Cute? I bet the guy will look even better in person. The other said tracing the poster of the underwear model, focusing mostly on his playful wink and smile and the too tight pair of white pants he was wearing that left barely enough to the imagination to not be too vulgar while making clear he was not one to plainies when it came down to that. You should no longer be feeling those needs 17, and that picture is very inappropriate and too distracting for drivers on the road, 16 said. You are a prude android, you know? The girl answered annoyed. Well, I found you, Vegeta said as he slowly landed in front of the three already in his SSJ form. We have been standing here immobile for 15 minutes and 7 seconds, it was inevitable, 16 replied. Was that a joke? 17 asked taken aback. Yes. The guy is improving, see if you can teach him to talk normally too while I deal with our guest here, 18 ordered while stepping forward. Sounds easy on paper. What paper? 16 asked. Sigh, exactly. Ah. Powering up with a wild scream, Vegeta lunged forward with a left punch, surprised to see the blonde girl defend using her forearm to then retaliate with a backhanded hit to the chin that made his head snap back. You. Damn. Bastard. Screaming each word separately, the so-called prince launched a barrage of punch, grabbing 18's wrist as soon as she intercepted the last one to haul her over his shoulder and launch her against the near wall, embedding her in there. We got a feisty one. The android said, amused as her body didn't show even the least bit of damage before breaking free, sprint ahead and slam her forehead on Vegeta's, making him growl in pain. Catch me, short guy, she then said, winking before zooming away and high in the sky. Come back here, and there she goes. No sport car approaching, 16? 17 asked annoyed. No, we'll have to wait then. What the two didn't know was that the short chase 18 had the Saiyan Prince go through resulted in the almost total destruction of the near highway as Vegeta simply refused to pay attention to collateral damages while chasing the blonde girl, blowing up and tearing to pieces everything standing on his way in his haste to destroy her. It was a miracle if there have not been victims, even if the number of wounded bystanders went way above the hundreds. We are back, 18 said, amused as she landed near the other two. How's our angry shorty, Gra? The Saiyan Prince bellowed as he launched the female android against the rocks with an hammer punch. Still angry, the blonde girl replied simply while breaking free as if nothing happened. Having fun at least? 17 asked, bored as she sat on the street rail to look at her sister. Not even a little, he talks too much, 18 answered, huffing. Done running away? Finally accepting your fate, android? Vegeta asked, sneering. He did that all the time. Yep. That's unpleasant, 16 retorted while still looking at the small bird perched on his shoulder. You know, for being an android built and programmed for the sole purpose of killing Goku, you do not look like the part, 17 admitted. As you said, that is my only goal. Everything else is irrelevant, or depending on my choices, the tall android answered simply. Good for you, in the meantime I'll go deal with our friend here, he got too boring to keep around, 18 answered, shrugging while walking towards Vegeta. Father. Right on cue. Trunks, Piccolo, Krillin and Tien 2 joined the scene with the time traveler clearly happy to see his father still alive. Oh well, here come other playmates. Wanna join, 16? 17 asked, curious. No, as for now my only target is Goku. Suit yourself, the brunette answered, uninterested. This is not good, Tien admitted as he and the others too took their fighting stances. Oh, calm down, Baldy. Baldy? The three-eyed warrior said with narrowed eyes. As long as you four do not interrupt my sister's fun, nothing bad will happen, but if you do try something, I too will join the fun and you all will die. 17 replied, tossing back a fringe of hair. We are here to. Are you others just talking? Or do you also fight every once in a while? A new voice said, annoyed. What the? Krillin cursed in surprise as apparently nobody felt him arrive. You know, if I had a watch, I would be looking at my wrist very condescendingly right now. Where is the violence I was promised by your spiking key? I came here to fight, Naruto said while sitting cross-legged in the air and floating near the giant billboard. You do have a watch, Kurama said. The old fart android's key bullet fried it. Oh, ha ha ha, aren't you a funny one, an android built with a sense of humor. Useless junk, Vegeta said mockingly. You are an android. You posse's key, how is it possible? 16 asked. Biomechanical, created by Dr. Garther. A student of Jero the old fart kicked out because he deemed her work subpar, Naruto answered. Designation? Android 1, but you can call me Naruto. Android 16. Nice to meet ya. Hey. You are the guy on the poster. 17 yelled while pointing at the picture behind Android 1. Oh, that? I needed money and they said I had a nice body. It seemed a good idea for some easy cash. Naruto answered, grinning, grin matching the one he was sporting in the giant poster behind him. Well, the picture doesn't make you justice, pretty boy, 18 admitted greatly amused. That's it. Stop ignoring me. Vegeta yelled furious as his aura exploded in energy soon condensing in both his hands. You were just jealous that I look better while wearing only a pair of two tight boxers and a sexy smile. Naruto answered unimpressed. Scatter. Tien yelled as the humongous wave of energy caught the four androids fully and erased completely both road and mountains in an imposing explosion of light. You are a dick, just so you know. The android shinobi growled as he blew away the cloud of dust with a flare of his ki to show his body being unscathed. I find the description to be fitting. 16 answered as he too, just like 17 and 18, looked unharmed by the attack. Even if the two android twins will be soon forced to look for new clothes as theirs had took an evident heavy beating. It's unfair that your clothes are still okay, 18 admitted huffing. With how much those cost me, they very well have to be indestructible. My armor was made to be durable, how come you are still alive? Because. You suck. 17 answered as her sister dashed forward to grab both Vegeta's hands to initiate a strength contest between the two. It's only a matter of time, Tin Can. You can't absorb energy so soon your battery will run dry and I will be the one to win. Vegeta said proudly as his ki flared into an intense flame of blinding light. Sigh. Have you not considered that maybe we do not absorb energy because we do not need to? 18 asked bored as she slowly forced Vegeta's arms down and against his sides. What? We have an internal generator, dumbass, 17 specified. So this means. Trunks stuttered in horror. Unlimited energy. 18 answered as with a dull-sounding crack. Both Vegeta's arms went bent to the breaking point until the bones gave in, breaking in hundreds of pieces. RGH. The Saiyan prince could only scream to the world his pain while collapsing on his knees in agony. Father. The time-traveling young man roared as he too transformed into his super form to help his father that in the meantime had been kicked away by the girl android. Ah ha ha. I said no intruders, 17 said amused as she grabbed the young man's sword with her hand to snap it in half before punching Trunks' stomach hard enough to blow away his super transformation and letting him collapse on the ground. You are not joining? 16 asked as he and Naruto watched Piccolo and Tien join the battle and get rapidly dispatched by the twins. Meh. I am still deciding which side I am on, the shinobi android answered shrugging. Then why don't you come with us? We're out to kill Son Goku, yes, but nothing says we can't have some fun in the meantime. 17 offered smirking while literally throwing away Tien down to the ground into a crater. Nah. Go have your fun, I have something else to check on, he answered smirking. To the next time then, pretty boy, 18 answered, making her sister turn furious by kissing his cheek before flying away. Why you did that? 17 asked growling. Just because, the other answered. Damn you. Stop arguing, 16 said as the three finally turned into tiny dots in the horizon. Why you didn't stop them? Krillin asked while giving a small beam to Vegeta that somehow gave back to the Saiyan the ability to use his arms as if nothing happened. Because I fear something worse is going to pop up. What are those? Naruto answered landing near the group. Senzu beans. They can cure almost every wound and or disease. Bar Goku's heart problems, conveniently. But what do you mean with something worse? Piccolo asked groaning while nursing his abused neck. I can sense negative emotion. I could do that even before being turned into an android. I thought I felt those three while coming here, but I was wrong. Someone even more dangerous is around, someone or something evil. The blonde answered worried. That is not a good news, the Namekian admitted sneering. I know, and unless you people have a miraculous way to turn way stronger in a very short amount of time, between androids and this mysterious guy the first fear there will be very little to do to help this planet, especially if Goku-san does not get better soon. I may have a way, the green-skinned alien muttered bitterly. What the android was about to ask fell short as Piccolo zoomed away at top speed. He must be going to fuse with Kami, Krillin said with narrowed eyes. Fuse with God? The guardian of our world and Piccolo used to be a single entity, he probably wants to fuse with Kami so to recover his former power. The short warrior explained. I see, we need to move Goku, soon those androids will find him, Tien said in alarm. Already thought about that. Shichi-san called a certain Roshi to organize everything, Naruto answered. Then we'll go help them speed up things, Krillin answered as he and Tien rapidly flew away. And you? The android shinobi asked to Trunks. Vegeta interrupted his son by letting out a scream of pure fury before flying away. Sigh. Go check on your father, before he does something utterly moronic, Naruto said groaning. Sorry. The other answered uneasy before trying to follow the enraged prince. Do you plan on coming out anytime soon? Naruto asked growling after a long silence. Oofufufufufu. So you have been activated then, a new, hissing voice said amused. Why, shouldn't I be awake and kicking? The blonde asked in bitter sarcasm. No, but I am happy instead. I am curious to see how I will face against another android, so you'll be my perfect test before facing 17 and 18. Cell answered as it came out from under the road with a wide feral smirk on its insect-like face. And who are you exactly to say that? I don't have a proper name, but I think that, Cell, would be a good one, don't you think? So that's the result of Jero's side project. I am happy Garter didn't copy too much. You had really been risking turning like that, Kurama admitted grumbling. You can hide yourself well, Cell, Android 1 admitted. It was a nice feature Dr. Jero added to me, yes, the other bio-android answered smugly. The TAS. Total Aura Suppressor System, and how do you know? Cell asked amused. We are more similar to what you might think, Cell-kun. Naruto answered as his ki flared up instantly and both red eyes and feral features returned in an instant. Really? How so? Cell answered as its own ki exploded fiercely, making the clash of the two powers shock the area causing the road to collapse. Why don't you force me to tell? Oh, I plan to, Cell said rushing forward cackling madly. The explosion caused by the two androids' punches meeting halfway was felt by the retreating Z warriors, making them double their efforts in reaching their respective goals. Piccolo especially, since now he too could tell that a third menace had joined the fight. The Namekian now silently hoping that their pseudo-ally android could be talked into helping them instead of the bad guys. Omake. Obligatory TFS meme. Omake Vegeta was looking at both Naruto and Piccolo with furious eyes, his rage so high he could barely speak in a comprehensible manner. You, Namekian, blonde tin can, too strong, explain now. The prince growled each word separately. Piccolo fused with Kami so he could become stronger, Trunks answered. And Naruto recovered his memories about his sixth path sage power, becoming stronger, Krillin added. The fuck are a Kami and a sage? Vegeta asked. Basically gods, Krillin answered. But I am still here, Vegeta yelled back. Yeah, I am still here as well, Naruto added equally angry. Do you two really believe your own hype that much? Trunks asked incredulous. We are the hype. Both yelled at the same time. Real Omake, EHM. Is that normal? Ah. Cell screamed powering up. EHM. Ah. The insect-like android screamed as it powered up some more. I have reached full power already. It can't be that hard to summon your own power from inside you. Naruto muttered uneasy. Ah. The ground started giving in, making rocks float upward. I took like 5 seconds without making too much of a scene, or screaming myself hoarse. Ah. Guys? Is that normal? Naruto asked unnerved. His power is immense, Piccolo said with wide eyes. Guys? Why you are not attacking? Cell is standing immobile, or a flare or not a strong enough attack can still kill him mid-power up. What a terrible ki, Gohan said scared. Ah. Cell powered up even more. That thing is reaching the 5-minute mark of non-stop screaming. Is that normal or not? Kurama asked worried. Ah. I don't know, Naruto answered uneasy. 1 hour later. Ah. Cell screamed as it finally finished powering up. So, little android? Can you feel the difference in power between us now? The insect android asked smugly. Z's. A long, thunderous sound reached everyone's ears as Naruto had apparently fell asleep still standing and was now openly snoring with a giant bubble of snot growing and shrinking from his nose. Wake the fuck up, Cell bellowed. Wah, you done? The blonde yelled in surprise as he woke up. Yes, I am done. It took. Wow, that much? Just shut up and fight me. The perfect being muttered snarling. Just promise me there won't be any more power-ups. Two voices screamed at the same time as two laser-like ki attacks met halfway in a blinding explosion of light. Hoo. Well, you are surpassing my expectations, of quite a margin even. Hoo. The bio-android known as Cell said with a smug laugh as soon as the smoke of the two attacks canceling each other dispersed. I am glad I can entertain you, the blonde android named 1 answered with an annoyed growl. You are doing more than entertaining me. You are helping me test my current power, and are making me decide between simply destroying you or absorbing every ounce of energy you possess. And the latter option is becoming very welcomed, Cell said waving its tail as to underline the fact. I am not into bugs or vor, so I will have to decline being eaten by you. You can't say that until you try, the insect android yelled as it charged forward and then whipping his tail in front of itself to pierce the blonde's chest. Oorah! The other replied, grabbing the tail and using it to spin Cell around as fast as he could. Grah! Let me go, the android growled, helpless. Never. Then I will force you. Solar flare, Cell replied, moving both hands at the side of his face to produce a blinding explosion of light. Fucking hell, my eyes! Naruto yelled frantically while covering his eyes. You are mine now, Cell said in glee as it grabbed him in a bear hug with enough strength to turn a normal man's bones to dust. What are you, Arg? The human-looking android yelled in pain as Cell's tail pierced his back. Now let's see how much energy I can talk, Grah! Cell yelled in shock as the blonde android latched to his neck with a bite. Fimilar define, Bastard. Let's see who abshorbs faster. Naruto said, grimacing as he started absorbing energy from Cell, all for the bio-android's ire. You don't want to know from what kind of book she took the idea, Kurama said, grimacing. Better a vampire-like design than a tail. Even if I think there must be some girl somewhere liking the idea all the same. The blonde thought in answer. Just focus on fighting, the voice replied, annoyed. Triple A Arg. Finally breaking free, the blonde kicked Cell away before charging a quick blast of ki in his hand. Just die already, he yelled, launching his one-handed energy wave. You first, Cell answered, doing the same. The collision of the two attacks generated a giant explosion covering the whole area and then some, and making all the nearby cities shock violently from the aftershock. Meanwhile, Kami's lookout, both Piccolo and Kami were looking down the flying construction towards the land below with a frown on their faces. They seem equally matched, Piccolo said, grumbling. I fear that the monster still holds a slight superiority to our unexpected blonde ally, but for the time being he may prove to be an important ally to keep this creature occupied until the others are ready to face him. Kami answered with a heavy tone. That is why I suggested us to fuse into a single being, the younger Namekian of the two said. Sigh. You are aware of what you are asking me to do, right? To simply disappear once absorbed. The other answered with a tired sigh. Do we actually have any other idea, or plan, or miracle waiting for us to happen? That would mean leave this world without a protector, without a Kami. And what good is the current Kami doing instead? What help can you give by remaining here to watch? Piccolo answered, growling. You can't pretend me to jump at the idea. In my eyes you still represent the evil side I banished years ago when I firstly became Kami, what I used to be. I changed during all this time, and you know it, Piccolo replied, annoyed. This doesn't change the magnitude of the favor you are asking me, the older Namekian answered with a long sigh. Aargh, you stubborn bastard, Piccolo roared in anger as he looked down on the ongoing fight between the two bio-androids and stubbornly refusing to look in Kami's general direction. Back on Earth, with Naruto and Cell, bawahahahaha. Cell was cackling in mad amusement as it kept shooting volley after volley of fast ki blasts at the flying blonde android, forcing him to fly higher and higher in the sky. You won't escape me, it then said, unfolding its insect wings and flying to the chase. Damn it. Why won't that thing die? Kurama growled, furious as he watched his host reattach his right arm. Cell had managed to cut off with a blast. For the same reason we are still alive, we both have a damn good power of regeneration. The blonde answered, focusing ki in his hand to form a wide disc with sharp edges he then threw at the rapidly advancing Cell, cutting it in two at the chest. Gotcha. Came. The insect-looking android replied, unfazed as he brought both hands forward. Shi-T. Kurama yelled with wide eyes. Hami. Energy kept rapidly mounting in Cell's hands in a blinding sphere of light. Do something. Death Ball. Naruto yelled, hoping to empower the huge sphere of ki in enough energy to withstand the attack. Ha! Both androids launched their attack at the same time. Woom! Both hastily made techniques met halfway with Cell ki blast, splashing, against the black-colored giant sphere of Naruto, both pushing as much power they could in trying to overpower the other while refusing to be pushed back even just of an inch. NNGH. Cell groaned as he barely felt his legs reconnect with his torso on a subconscious level. He knew very well that it had been a gamble doing that while regenerating, and so that he had not enough time to properly prepare that technique. Goo! At the same time, Naruto growled in fatigue as he was physically pushing on his sphere of energy with both hands and feeling his fingers be buried inside its burning energy. The light surrounding the two was nothing anybody had ever seen before, white and black meeting with enough intensity to surpass the sun itself, while the two auras clashing created an insanely powerful gust of wind that was battling mercilessly all around the two. reducing everything in its path to dust and even upturning cars and uprooting whole sections of roads far and far away from the fighting zone. NGGH ha! With a duo of war cries, both androids gambled their whole existence in their last attack and simply shoved all their power in their techniques without a care about the outcome. The result was the death ball finally giving in and exploding in a flare of uncontrolled energy that took part of the Kamehameha own energy along the ride, with the blast radius reaching simply ridiculous dimensions and the mushroom cloud alone casting its shadow everywhere. Even Piccolo and Kami for an instant thought they could feel the heat generated by the explosion reach them, while the other Z warriors instinctively turned to look in the general direction. They felt the two auras momentarily disappear, or at least get weak enough to be hardly sensed. "I hope he is okay," Yamcha muttered, honestly worried. "I am sure he is okay, Yamcha, have no fear," Chi-Chi answered with a gentle smile. "Who are you talking about?" Master Roshi asked as the group was finally reaching the old man's home in a very isolated corner of the ocean. "A new friend that we managed to drag in our latest bout to save the world," Yamcha answered. "Goody, all the more friends to wish back to life with Shenron." "Since when you are so negative, old man?" Chi-Chi asked, huffing. "Ever since I noticed bad guys popping up one after another with always shorter pauses between each one of them, it is honestly getting ridiculous," the hermit answered, sighing. Sadly true. Back with Naruto and Cell, Ruin's utter devastation was what remained of the two techniques' explosion, and right in the middle of the various mounds of rubles stood the heavily damaged form of Cell, lying there unmovable with the upper part of its body nowhere to be seen, leaving behind only part of its torso and its legs barely intact. "Splaat! Gwa!" Cell roared in fatigue as it finally regrew the missing body parts the explosion simply had evaporated. "You piece of rubbish! Total waste of hardware and DNA," the thing growled as it tiredly made its way towards what remained of Android 1. The blonde didn't answer as his eyes still looked empty. Contrary to Cell, the explosion disintegrated what was on his lower half, leaving the rest badly burned, even if it was clear he was rapidly healing. "No number regeneration for you," the creature hissed as it used its tail tightly wrapped around the blonde's neck to lift what remained of Naruto. "Screw absorbing you, I can do even without whatever power I could gather from you. I will simply destroy you to the point that nothing remains," Cell bellowed as he built up as much energy as he could in his hands to blast Android 1 in a humongous explosion of energy, uncaring of how much weaker that overcharged attack would leave it. It will rest and feed later. Avenging the blow to its pride was more important now. And as it expected, nothing seemed to remain of the blonde once the attack dissipated, making the insect-like bio-android tiredly chuckle. Apparently the fight took more energy than expected. If it found itself feeling slightly tired, but it knew it will pass soon. It was a mere small delay before its hunt for Android 18 and 17 could continue. Sometime later, somewhere Android 1 was floating somewhere empty, nor cold, nor hot, just void. "Look, Naruto. Little number 2 F plus W is moving his first steps in the bottomless void," a woman said happily, but for the life of him Android 1 could not see her face as it simply looked like glitching whenever she faced him. Once she finally walked out of the darkness, even the name she said sounded like gibberish to his ears. "He looks very lively," Naruto said as the faceless bundle of glitching data holding the woman's hand gurgled something unintelligible. "Like his ddddy, the voice said, failing like a broken record towards the end. "I love you, hi 04s, he tried saying before static noises exited his mouth. "I love you too, Naruto," the woman replied as everything glitched again, making the blonde's only sane eye snap open in horror and despair. "Gurgle," he tried to scream only for bubbles to come out from his mouth. "Ah." The one to scream for real was instead a young woman with blue hair that had fallen asleep in front of a computer and that had been awakened by the android loud awakening that had her topple down her chair. "Why, you are awake? Incredible," the woman said in a mixture of elation and awe. Gurgle. New bubbles came out from the blonde's mouth as he tried to answer. "Ah. Yes. Wait a minute," the mysterious girl said as robotic arms moved inside the same greenish liquid Android 1 was apparently immersed into to help him wear a breathing mask. "Where am I?" he asked with a distorted voice coming from the mosque's inner microphone. "In my father's lab. I am Bulma Briefs and you are safe, between friends. Piccolo has found you and brought you to me to have you repaired. Your core was heavily damaged, so it was taking a long time for you to recover. Honestly, removing it was our best idea as its damaged state was slowing down your healing a lot. I guess that in her haste to copy Jero, the garter woman tried to pile up too many different modifications for those to work properly. Just the ones she did about your DNA would have been enough, for the love of God. It was easy to tell that the mechanical parts were holding you back in. Can you please slow down?" Naruto begged with a tired voice. Ma. Sorry about that. I find this whole android mess to be a pain and I tend to go into rants when I think about it. Bulma answered chuckling. Don't tell me. I am actually living through this pain in the ass. If you are really that good, can you please tell me why I can't feel a thing from the neck down? He asked. Wheel. That's because there is nothing of you still existing from the neck down, the young woman answered sheepishly. What? What? The blonde bellowed with surprising force, making Bulma fall down once again. Look yourself. I had to submerge you in a special culture bath to help your regeneration, she answered, putting a mirror in front of the android. I think I am going to puke. Naruto muttered as he could see what was left of him. Truth be told, you lack a stomach and a digestive tract to puke, she answered with a forced smile. I think I can pull it off all the same at the moment, he whimpered in answer. He was reduced to a head, a badly burned head with barely a handful of hair still on top of it and a single eye still working, the other was just an empty and bloodied eye socket. She better fix you up good, or you'll have to kiss your modeling career goodbye, Kurama muttered, wincing. I will fix him up perfectly, thank you, Bulma answered with a bitter tone. Shit. You heard me. Yes, I did. I am monitoring his brain, Kurama, so I can talk and hear you both, and I think I can recover most of your memories, she answered. And my body? Naruto asked. You are just a head now, so it will take a while for the rest to regrow, even with the culture bath you are in greatly helping it along. Good news is that the Saiyan cells and the ones from Frieza and King Cold are empowering each other. If you recover from this, your regenerating power will skyrocket in terms of both speed and quality. And I would expect a nice boost in power too if I were you. Saiyan do get stronger from that kind of recovering. If Vegeta's own grumbled answer when I asked is the truth. How long? How long? I estimated a week. Once done that and fixed whatever mess Garther did to your DNA while splicing, I will try to restore your memories, Bulma promised. Mess? And why you are helping me? Naruto asked. Garther was a genius. Yes. A good one? Yes, even if easily distracted and childish. But did she have the right equipment to do a proper job with you? Oh God, no, it is a miracle in itself if you work at all. And I am helping you because you helped Goku in his time of need, kept yet another android occupied while we others took care of hiding our friend and gave us an actual heads up to a menace not even our time-traveling friend Trunks knew about. As we speak, he and Krillin went to destroy a secret lab of Jero we discovered thanks to the data I extracted from your brain that Garther herself stole from Jero. We still don't know from where that cell you fought came though, Bulma answered. Thank you. Naruto answered shyly. You look like a nice boy, even Chi-Chi said that she could tell you were a nice guy, just like Yamcha said. Even if you like to play badass apparently and dismiss this as you, just having fun, she said, amused at his blushing. Shut up. I am just joining you because I want to fight strong guys TTE Bayo, he yelled in clear embarrassment. Yeah, whatever you say, the woman answered chuckling. Damn it. By the way. Yes? Once regrown your hands I want an autograph. I love that spot you made about the new Chanel cologne. Bulma said with a mischievous smile. I bet you did. You women all did. It took 3 days to remove that oil from my abs instead. Make them shiner. Make them shiner, stupid asshole. Android 1 grumbled annoyed. Ha 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 ha. Outside Bulma's personal laboratory, a week later. Piccolo, having finally fused with Kami, Vegeta, Trunks and Krillin were waiting outside the lab for Bulma to come out with the results of her working on the remains of Android 1 once again. So? Krillin asked once he grew bored of the long silence between them. What? Vegeta asked growling. There is a famous model in there with Bulma and she is spending a lot of time talking with him. Are you not jealous? The short man asked curious. The stupid Earth woman is fixing that useless piece of scrap metal since she believes he may be at least a bit useful against those androids. She is wasting time and effort on garbage and I should be jealous. Why exactly? And jealous of what? The prince of all. Remaining 2 or 3. Saiyans answered with a glare that made the other jump back a little. That sounds like jealousy to me, Piccolo muttered without opening his eyes. Nobody asked you, Namekian, please, father, I. And you especially should stay quiet, boy, the Saiyan prince spat annoyed. Any other android you think maybe are around and conveniently forgot to tell us? I don't think there should be others, Trunks answered looking down. You better, because otherwise I will be mad. There are already too many tin cans around as it is, Vegeta answered. And what if another one pops up? Or even 3. And one of them even wears something stupid, like a trucker hat? Krillin said with a challenging smirk. Do not challenge me, little man. The Saiyan muttered with a low voice making Krillin eep in surprise. Please calm down, the last thing we need is fighting with each other, we have plenty of bad androids to deal with. Piccolo said with a chastising tone as he moved to knock on the lab door. I was coming out, have no fear, Bulma said yawning as she exited the room. So, Mom? Trunks asked. I like having you call me Mom, she answered smirking before clearing her throat. Our friend Naruto is recovering even faster than what I anticipated, in a week or so he will regrow his whole body and return to optimal health. I also finally talked him into joining us and not the androids, he will fight with us. The young woman said sounding proud of herself. An ally more is nothing to sneeze at, anything else? Piccolo answered nodding. I am actually surprised he survived as just ahead, Krillin muttered under his breath. He has inside Saiyan blood, we do not die that easily. Vegeta answered speaking of his race with the utmost pride. And the Namekian and whatever race Frieza is. DNA also boosting his own natural, superhuman, regeneration. The data I extract. Arcosian. Trunks said. What? Arcosian, mother. You decided to call the race like that so to not put all of them on the same level as Frieza by saying, Frieza's race, the time traveler explained. Oh, thanks for telling me, can we get to the point? Vegeta bellowed. As I was saying, Bulma answered glaring at the Saiyan prince making him grumble in annoyance. The data I extracted suggests that the third android we have to keep our eyes on and that he fought already is called, Cell. A highly adaptive bio-android created using the DNA of some of the strongest warriors in the galaxy. Somewhere, on a faraway planet, I beg to differ, I am strong and I was not included in the collection, and I find it greatly offensive to not have been took in consideration. I should have been the first to be cloned. I should go there and show them who's stronger. Sigh. Lord Beerus, what? Back on Earth. The curious thing though is while completely different in design, as Cell was built from the ground up using the stolen DNA while Naruto had it added to his. Their base genetic makeup is identical. Bulma finished saying. And for people that have not an IQ like yours? Krillin asked confused. It means that while extremely compatible, they are toxic to each other. Bulma's father answered as he joined the group with the ever-present black cat hanging from his shoulder. I don't get it, Piccolo said. Useless drivel. Vegeta added grumbling in the background. How can I phrase it? The two would technically be able to mate and generate a prole, but they cannot absorb each other energy or body. The man answered unsure. Absorb energy or body? Krillin repeated. Just like the first androids you guys fought with, both Cell and Naruto can absorb energy to add it to their own internal source of energy. They do not need it to work, but they can further enlarge their reserves through absorption, Bulma said. And the body part? Piccolo asked. That we are not exactly certain about as the data Garther has stolen were still about the prototype times of Project Cell, but if Gero still managed to make it work, then there is the chance that Cell would be able to ideally swallow the whole body of its victims. Why doing that when just stealing energy would be enough escapes me though? Bulma answered sighing in defeat. Maybe he wanted Cell to eat Goku completely, he has a deep grudge against him, Krillin suggested. Probably, our friend did destroy the Red Ribbon Army after all, Dr. Brief conceded. The sick maniac maybe wanted Goku's death to be slow, Piccolo added making the other shiver at the idea of being slowly eaten alive. So, what does that mean for us? Vegeta asked bored. Cell at the moment is vulnerable, Bulma said making the other gasp. The poisoning, if we want to call it that, is mutual. Naruto's own healing slowed down to a crawl because he tried to absorb Cell's energy while the monster tried to absorb from him. Neither of the two can do it without feeling sick. In a week both will recover from the poisoning and recover their power, so we need to find Cell now that thing cannot heal as it normally would. The woman explained. I am also trying to see if I can create something from Mr. Naruto's DNA to use as a weapon against Cell should it become a too big menace. It would in theory make it weak enough to make it easier to destroy, her father added. Then keep working on it and see if you can speed up our friend recovery. We are going to find Cell and remove at least one android from the scene. You coming, Trunks? Krillin said. Yeah. I am coming too. That thing is still pretty strong, poisoned or not. 3 against 1 would make me feel better about chances of victory, Piccolo said. Thank you, Piccolo. The time traveler said thankful as the three started leaving. Be careful, even if weakened Cell is still a huge threat. Right now the news we're talking about how Gingertown has turned into a ghost city in a matter of hours. That's 15,000 people gone and absorbed by that thing. That monster is probably trying to absorb as much energy it can to counter its weakened state, so keep your eyes open. Even just one of you has more energy inside than those people had. He may attack you without a second thought out of despair. Bulma's father said with a grave tone. All those victims. And we don't even have the Dragon Balls anymore. Piccolo growled as he thought at the downside of his fusion with Kami that caused the Dragon Balls to lose their powers. We'll find a solution to that as well, now go and find that creature. Bulma answered, making the three nod and hurry outside. You okay, Vegeta? Bulma asked, looking at the fuming prince. I am wasting my time here, he answered, walking away without looking back. He is going towards the gravity machine to train again, her father answered, sighing. I guess seeing Piccolo becoming that strong wounded his pride. Sigh, he can be so childish sometimes. Bulma answered, sighing as she returned to work on helping Naruto recover. Meanwhile, with Cell, Gaw, WY, the insect android growled, furious as a new puking fit forced it to bend forward to let go a deluge of acidic green shot from its mouth. I absorb energy. But I can't use it. Why the wounds are not closing, the android said as the bullet wounds from the army soldiers he had just absorbed took twice the time to close. What have you done to me, you dirty bastard? Cell roared as he saw Android 1 as the sole culprit. No matter, I can feel myself getting better, soon my hunt for 17 and 18 will restart. This is just a minor setback. It hissed with narrowed eyes as the bio-android stumbled a little while walking before flying away towards the next city. 1 week later, Bulma's laboratory. We could not find hair or hide of Cell. That monster knows how to stay hidden and come out only to feed. Every time we have a lead we come to find only the remains of his latest victims. Krillin said, sighing once he and the others returned from another fruitless hunt for the weakened Cell. The only result we had was finding a second time machine, Trunks added, showing his mother a thick stack of pictures. Another time machine? What do you mean? Bulma asked, looking at the image of a tall machine covered in moss and with a sizable hole in the glass dome on top of it. It's perfectly identical to the one I used to come here, down to the writing, Hope, done on the side the day I firstly activated it. But while mine is new, this one looks like having been abandoned in that place for years, Trunks explained. But what would that mean? Tien asked. It was in fact by chance the man had found the thing and alerted both Trunks and Krillin as the two had been passing by. You said you have found an old insect carapace near it, right? The woman said with narrowed eyes. Yep, along the egg. Krillin said, pointing at the pink, soccer ball-sized egg, resting on a near table. What are you trying to say? Tien asked. The DNA left in that egg correspond to the traces I have found in Naruto's teeth from where he had bitten Cell. They match perfectly with the sample of the larva-like thing you said you have found in Jiro's secret lab and that you destroyed. Why, you mean? Trunks asked in horror. To answer him, Bulma took a pen and a piece of paper and drew 2 parallel lines on it. In one you tried to use the time machine I have built and managed to come back. In the other that small thing grew up to become Cell that then intercepted you before you could activate it. He must have somehow regressed into a larval state by itself once activated the machine. From Naruto's description, Cell would have been too big to fit inside the cockpit otherwise. But before that he must have, she said with a low voice. He must have killed me to then steal the already programmed time machine. He comes from an alternate timeline. I brought him here, the time traveler said, shocked. To be fair, it was another you to program that thing, and just like you, that Trunks didn't know Cell even existed. He could have not expected that to happen. Tien said, giving the boy a reassuring squeeze to his shoulder. It doesn't make me feel better though, the young man said, sighing. We destroyed our version of it before it could make damages and we'll stop the one that came back, I promise. Your future will be a good one, Bulma said with a gentle smile. How's our android friend instead? Krillin asked, clearly wanting to switch subject, all for the clear elation of Trunks. He is okay. He has just finished regenerating his body and as we speak Dad is downloading his restored memories back inside his mind. It had not been easy, we had to copy his mind fully into a computer and work on that before putting it back inside his head. And yet only 70% of his memories are back, the rest we cannot recover, too much damage, Bulma answered, sighing. It was in that moment that a humongous explosion shocked the whole city, sending Bulma's father fly inside the woman's lab from the newly created hole in the wall. The man was luckily still alive, even if a little ragged. Ah! The inhuman scream of sorrow soon following cut through the air as Android 1 kept screaming and wailing in complete despair. Inside Naruto's head it was a mess of memories coming and going at light speed. Names, places, battles, faces all jumbled together without order while the Pooh Man's brain tried to sort them out at the same time as every voice of friend and enemies resounded at the same time in an incomprehensible jargon so loud to have his ears almost bleed while a soul-piercing headache kept trying to split his skull in half. All he could understand was that those were his memories, that he had lost everything they showed and that it both hurt and angered him, and both anger and sadness were warring to take over at every new memory popping up in his head. Come here, Naruto. Congratulations for becoming a genin. The wounded face of Iruka smiled proud as he tied his forehead protector on the young blonde forehead. Team 7 will be Haruno Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto. Ma. The test is easy. The two that grab these bells pass, the last one gets tied to the post, Kakashi said with an eye smile. Hurry up and become the Hokage, Naruto-kun, so I will be able to retire, Hiruzen Sarutobi said with a gentle smile while patting the 5-year-old Naruto on the head. Ready to go back, Naruto? It's time to return to Konoha, Jiraiya said proudly once completed the blonde's training in the Toad summoning realm. Congratulations, Hokage-sama, it's a boy, a nurse said as the now adult Naruto entered the hospital room to meet his wife and newborn. Great Naruto Bridge. Yep. Sounds about right as a name, isn't it? Old man Tazuna said in drunken pride. Naruto-kun. A young woman with pale eyes and long blue hair said with a loving smile as he took her hand to have her wear a wedding ring. Real world. As storm clouds kept amassing above the city, the android ninja kept yelling and summoning more power, making a dense bubbly aura covered his whole body until his skin started rupturing and blood slowly flowed upward in tiny bubbles. As soon as those touched the outer layer of the bubbling energy, those dissipated, making the area darken in color. What is he doing? Krillin asked, trying to be heard above the howling of the wind. Transforming, it seems. Bulma replied, getting almost blue back if not for Tien holding her. The aura he is throwing around is nothing to sneeze at, he is getting stronger and stronger, the three-eyed man said between clenched teeth. Even you. Vegeta growled with narrowed eyes from his position above the ground. By now Android One's whole body had become a featureless humanoid shape with shining eyes, long ears and a jagged opening acting as mouth. I don't like this, I am getting Frieza flashback, Krillin said worried. When Android One finally stopped screaming, he simply stood motionless in the middle of the crater created by his outburst while looking upward towards the sky, the huge drops of the rainstorm mixing with his tears as it kept raining mercilessly. Why? He asked with a barely understandable growling tone. Bulma had not a right answer to that and refused to even look at him in the eyes. I don't know why you are here, neither I know why whoever turned you into an android chose you to begin with. But I ask you to not consider this whole world at fault, we'll find a way to send you back once dealt with Cell and the other androids. I promise. Trunks tried saying while also transforming into a Super Saiyan as a precaution. Promise. Promise you will, the android growled. I do. With hard eyes never leaving the ones of the transformed android, Trunks nodded in determination. Good. Naruto said before the transformation dispelled all at once and he fell unconscious in the waiting arms of the time traveler. I think we saw a glimpse of his power, I just hope the unconsciousness was only because of the trauma of his lost memories returning. Tien said, helping Trunks to take the half-naked young man inside. He remembered everything in an instant. The trauma must have been damn taxing for him. Take him to my lab, I'll see if he wounded himself in his short moment of madness, Bulma said sighing. The present Z warriors thought had felt a second spike of power happening at the same time as Naruto's own, making them grit their teeth in anger as they understood that Cell as well had finally recovered, signaling the return to the fray of the fourth evil android. At the same time, with androids 16, 17 and 18 Goku's home. TCH, completely empty, they have long left, they knew we were coming, 18 said annoyed as she kicked a near chair in petty annoyance. Makes the hunt funnier, sis, come on. There are not many places they could have took him to. It only means that our game can last a little longer, 17 answered, smirking at her sister's fuming face. Something wrong, 16? The brown-haired android asked to the towering giant accompanying them. I detected 2 spikes of aura, and both matching you, 17. Both seem actually close at surpassing you to be exact. 16 replied while still looking at the sky. 2 even, PPFF. You must be broken, my friend, or have very bad timing for jokes. Come on. Let's see where they have brought Goku. 17 answered laughing as she walked back towards their borrowed car. Coming. 18 answered huffing as she joined her sister. I suggest moving east, towards the sea. 16 said. Sounds like a plan. With that, the trio of androids returned to their merry game about hunting down Goku, unaware that a now gleeful Cell had returned to empty a city after another in great hurry, by now almost rabid in its wish to absorb both sisters and gain its perfect form, the end. Thanks for watching, also remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.